Hello everyone. Thank you for joining us in another of our APPI Learn-By-Doing webinars. Today we're going to be doing something which is not really focused on in general. I do think it goes on, but what I would like to do is kind of raise everybody's consciousness to doing this on purpose. And that is that you can learn about judging from your feedback session. As I've emphasized many times, precognition begins with the feedback session. The feedback session is the optimum place to do learning about ARV, about your precognition, about your communication channel with your subconscious. It's also an ideal place to learn about and improve your ARV judging. So that's going to be really the focus of this class. We will be doing, and we'll use this as the example, a feedback session for this particular coordinate, 498783. And that question was, will the Apple stock price close above 150 during this month period, which is now ended? So the prediction was a pass. We at that time indicated we were leaning toward no, and the outcome is indeed no. And we will work with the associated target, photosite target, but we'll use that to learn more about analysis judging. And then we will, as we always do in these, do another prediction for an outcome a month or more in the future. We'll do one RV session, one judging session, and then we will discuss these, which is really great learning. And also I then use these, as we will here, for future classes when they're actualized, when the outcome is known. Okay, so the analysis and judging is what, and one of the things which it takes sort of a while to get is the real importance of the judging session. All of us, including myself, get so into the precognition itself, this is what's fun. The remote viewing session is fun. Even the feedback session is fun because you see how you did and all of that. The judging session, to many, maybe is a chore, and we have to all get over that. It's extraordinarily important. You have no idea how often I hear people say, oh my gosh, I got that missed because I did a terrible job at judging. I didn't see this, I didn't see that. This may in fact be the most difficult part of ARV, is the judging session. And no, it's the judging session when, well, during feedback, of course, you find out whether your prediction was right or not. And we keep our focus on the feedback target and all that. And we're going to be learning about judging, but it's during the judging session that you make the decision of how much, well, whether to wager or not, how much of your resources in other kinds of ARV predictions do you want to put in based on this prediction. The prediction is made during the judging session. So it ends with that prediction. And the judging session, therefore, is extraordinarily important because it's the judge, whether it's self-judging or independent judging, that makes the final decision about the prediction, the yes or the no or the pass. So we're going to now introduce, and I've talked about the 5-second rule before, but I want to introduce it in terms of the feedback as well. So what we're really doing with ARV is this purposeful precognition, and this indeed begins with your feedback session. So let's now get into this feedback session that we did, and so we've already said this. It was the apple. The outcome was no. Let me just show you that. And this one was, will it close above 150 during this whole period of time? Sometimes I indicate on the last day, but this one was during the whole period from April 4th to May 4th. So here is the Apple price structure. Here's price here, 140 up to 158. Here's days. Here's April 4th. Here's May 4th, 5th. Here's 150. So you can see it indeed did not, up to May 4th, exceed 150. So the answer was no. Now, so how do we do, for those of you who did this, and I think some of you indeed are here, which is great, so we'll get to do the feedback sessions together. How do you do it? Well, it starts, of course, with your transcript, and then the general manager, in this case me, sends out emails. Some of you, I think, are brand new, well, or relatively new. So the protocol, Winning Entanglements protocol, is all done online via email or the internet. And so let's in fact go and see what the general manager put out as the email, and let's go see our feedback. So you as an individual, and I hope, and you're all in groups, if you're not, contact me and I'll put you in a group. But the feedback email, and let me find that. Here's the feedback email here. It will look like this. It'll have your group name on it, and it'll have, like here, the event. So you can see we're looking at the feedback for the Apple stock. It indicates what the winning side was. This is when you're going to find out what the actual winning side was. And we'll talk a little bit about sides later, but we generally call them side 1 and 2. We always call them side 1 and 2, but they're not always yes and no. But here is a no. I usually put some sort of statement here. And the group is, whether the group got a yes or no and a winning or losing or pass is much less important than the personal feedback. This is all about personal growth. And that's the key to improving ARV. Do yours with positive, loving intention, attention, and expectation for an ever-improving precog journey. And I really believe that. You can always get better and better at one aspect or another. You know, we just had an earlier conversation with Brian. He's good at colors but not good at other things. It's during the feedback session you get to work at becoming good at other things. During a feedback session, all that is relevant is your transcript and the feedback target. This is when you do the entanglement with when your transcript was generated, which was during the remote viewing session. So this is when the entanglement occurs. That's why precognition starts with the feedback target. Okay, so, you know, I've talked a lot about that, but you can see how easy this is. You look at this, yes, you verify this is the case. Hopefully you might read some of this to help you a little bit. But then you click here. There'll be something just like this giving you information, repeating the event, and then I am the representative of what you would do. So I just put in my name here because that's what I did for the webinar back in April. And then we click here, and there it is. That's the feedback target. Okay, I took it off quickly on purpose because I want during this class for you to right now do something. While this is memory, right, you saw it quickly, nevertheless, it's very much like remote viewing. So get out your paper and pencil, and what usually comes in first are big picture things. You get things like sketches, you get gestalts, you get first impressions. Do that right now. Put something on a piece of paper. We're going to see what the remote viewers did in a precognitive sense, but I want you to get a feeling for what this is like. Just what was some sketch which would capture what you got. Something big, the overall gestalt of it. You know, cities, mountains are examples. Was that what this was, or was it something else? What was kind of the gestalt kind of idea? And what were your first impressions? What was the dominant features you saw? Colors are examples. Were there any emotions involved? Actions. The other things are the words. And words may have come up already in terms of your gestalts and first impressions. That's fine. Put those down on your piece of paper. But also, I want you to get the sense that in remote viewing, the kinds of words that come up, you don't name a big picture. You know, if it was a fire engine, you wouldn't say fire engine, but you would get things like red, a structure, you know, the blocky shape, heavy, helping people. You would get low-level words like are on this sheet of paper. And any of you that would like this, I'm happy to send it to you. Just send me an email. But the kinds of things you get are textures. Again, you are using all of your senses. Your subconscious communicates with you through your nervous system into your consciousness. You know, we don't understand how that happens, but somehow we know your nervous system must be involved. So textures, right? Words like this, colors, smells, tastes, temperatures, sounds, dimensions. And sometimes you get these aesthetic impacts where your intention is to go to the site, okay, go where that picture was taken at the time it was taken, and sometimes you may very well and often do get something about that picture. Okay, so I hope you all did that, and this is the way remote viewing works. So in some ways you did an almost remote viewing session. So here it is now in detail. You could almost look and see what you got, what you didn't get, obviously feel good about what you got. But what we're going to do shortly is look at what the precoggers, the viewers that actually did that with that feedback, what they got. But I want to put out something here which is the first time I've ever done it. I sometimes say that remote viewing is, of course, mostly from the subconscious, but there is a portion of the intellect which is involved. because you need to get down on the piece of paper what it is that your subconscious is giving you. So I've kind of decided that I would make a rough estimate based on nothing but intuition, that it's like 90% from your sub and 10% from your intellect. The feedback session, and I think this is so important because what we're doing, of course, is entangling the remote viewing session and the precog. Precognition then couples up with the feedback session where you have the truth. Here, it's really 50-50. It's like here's where you want this harmony idea between the intuitive and the intellect, between your subconscious, which is getting information in a very different way than the intellect does, but both are rather magnificent. Both are rather mysterious, actually. You know, we spend most of our time here, at least we think we do. I think the subconscious, in fact, of course, may in fact in our day-to-day lives have much more to do than we think that it does. But in terms of the feedback session, I think you want to be in a place where you recognize you're going for that harmony between the two. Now, what about judging, which is what we're talking about here? Judging is just the reverse of the remote viewing. Here, I think it's like 90% from the intellect, but there is a portion which comes from the subconscious. Now, I love this picture. Our brains really are binary almost. We have a left brain and we have a right brain, and then there's the connections between. And this picture kind of shows it beautifully. There's information which goes between them, but the right brain is where the sub seems to do most of its communicating. So what we want to do is quiet the intellect here, but it's still around, and you want it to be around. And here, vice versa. Okay. Let's now talk about the 5-second rule and how we're going to use it in judging. The old famous 5-second rule for food, you have, you know, your target with food might be to pick up the food, you know, and to eat it. So that's what you want to do. But oops, something happened that wasn't on with your intention. It fell. Oh my God, you've got 5 seconds to pick it up and you can still eat it, okay? This guy was lucky, right? Murphy's Law said it should have gone peanut butter side down. Okay, and in fact, when he comes back and takes a bite, that's what he would want to say. Hey, God, I was really lucky. The peanut butter side was up. I don't have to clean the floor. Anyway, that's the way it works with food. Well, you want to know something? With feedback, non-target stuff is going to come up. Your memory is still around, and whether you're self-judging or independently judging, things that you maybe didn't get right, they're going to come up. It's like inevitable. We try to minimize it. We want to stay as positive as we can, but it's inevitable. And in fact, I have a feeling it's part of the whole system which the subconscious is part of in terms of setting up so that you can get better and better at this. So what do? The old saying that when life gives you lemons, make lemonade, well, we can use that here. Within 5 seconds, as soon as you notice this, become aware of it, you're paying attention to it, you return back to your feedback target with this more fun, positive, creative, interested attitude within 5 seconds, and you make something positive out of it. You say, oh, okay, that's what I did then, but there's something you can do, there's something you can learn. And that's the attitude of the 5-second rule with feedback. Here are from the Apple prediction, and no one I know, no one I've even heard of will claim to be 100% accurate. So what you're seeing here is a summary of the personal predictions from the webinar we did, where there are 2 photo sites, which we do during the judging. And you can see some people have the scores which are high on photo site A, others on photo site B. Now, we have the 0 to 7 TARG score, which I will talk about briefly later. Most of you have already heard about this. Okay, the prediction was a pass, but notice that as a group judge, and let me tell you, I am still learning how to do group judging. Almost everything I say about individual judging holds for group judging. I went with photo site A, but passed. Now, I had 4 on photo site B, but I had the highest on photo site A, with actually Evelyn, who's here, and decided that the real strong one was going to dominate, plus some of these, like this 3.5 here was a 3 and a 3.5, a lot of information from both sides. So there's just a lot of intellectual thinking that goes on in making this kind of decision. The last point I want to make is, so we went with no this time, but the last point I want to make is the group prediction by the group manager is really the least important part of ARVing, because it's the personal predictions and the personal growth and transformation that is key for ARV. It's you improving your precognitive capabilities. Okay, so let's look at the sessions, and let's talk about feedback. Lynn, are you here? Yes, you are. Okay, good. Why don't you turn on your mic? Excellent, Lynn.
Okay.
And we switched yours from the 2.5. Now, before you do your feedback session, and I'd like you to do it here publicly, you don't mind. What I want you to do when you missed something, and notice the approach that Lynn did here is exactly what we recommend. Sometimes people will put an A rather than a check, but she did it in colors. So one way or another, you go through each element and you indicate what matches. And so purple matched the A, and we've already said that this is A. So she saw some purple down here and she matched it. She did the green match the photo site B, and what I'd like you to do is actually go through this, do a feedback session, and pay, just because of this being a judging session, pay attention to how you might treat those things which you judged well and those things which you didn't judge well.
Okay. Well, one thing I want to say is about the doing an RV session. It's like 10% intellect. 90% subconscious. I think my thing is I'm almost like the opposite because I remember this target and I always, my intellect expects like these outdoor grand targets or something like that. And I remember this is really tricky because this would be like intellectually for me, like nothing I would ever consider to be a target. So let's see.
Okay, but
So
wait,
for the,
that's really a very important point. During your remote viewing session, what you're saying is your intellect is around enough that you're expecting something maybe that like stuff you've seen before, exciting stuff, or things like that, which you're
yeah,
putting
yeah,
into a
and not,
remote viewing session. See, the
yeah,
fact that you realize that is so important, and set that aside. Um, when that is there, just set it aside, and you in particular, because you know this about yourself, during the cool down session, purposely set all that stuff aside. Get into a place where you know the target can be virtually anything which can be photographed that's in our universe.
yeah, yeah, that's what I need to do. I mean, I don't
Okay.
want to do it, and I know intellectually, yeah, I should be doing it, but
Yeah.
it just amazes me sometimes these things. It's like I would never expect
Mm-hmm.
something like this. And I think, therefore, my mind also wants to jump to conclusions. And
Yep. That's
um,
everybody. That's what the
yeah,
work is.
yeah.
Okay.
So I think so the colors, let's see, orange, I think I see orange and purple, not really, I see brown and orange, and I didn't mark those off, so I could, green, there's some green in there too.
Okay. So now you said that. That was important. Oh, sub, look at this. Brown and orange were there. And gee, I missed that. And you're in an intellectual place now, right? And tell your intellect also that next time I'm really going to look harder at this because gee, had I seen the brown and yellow, I would have judged this differently. I mean, so
Yeah.
really take in what you said. Don't you see what I'm saying? You want to make this process important. Okay, go ahead. And
Um,
yeah, and let me just tell you one other thing. I'm sorry.
okay.
Part of making it important would be with a third color or maybe circling it, circle the orange and the brown and also the purple. In other words, hey, sub, thank you for giving me the purple. In other words, you're now in your feedback session, so you're making a big deal of the good stuff. And you say, oh my gosh, look at this, I missed it. Remember, you're in your feedback session, but you're also wanting to learn for your feedback session,
Okay, so
or your judging session, I'm sorry.
yeah, so I judge every element.
Yep. Well, during a feedback session, you should go through every element again. And some of them you might go through quickly, like, okay, yeah, I missed yellow. Um, no, but yellow was actually okay. It isn't in there. But
Yeah.
just like you did with your judging, you should go over every element again during your feedback session and feel good about it. And if you don't feel good about it, that's when you use the 5-second rule and learn something. And when
Okay.
you missed it, for example, your orange, you went into orange. Oh, gee, look, I missed that at the judging time, but it's there now, and you feel good. Well, look, you felt bad about missing it, right? A little bit. You felt a little bit bad about missing it, but you've got it now, so you circle it, and you're in your feedback session, so you're in this harmony place, hopefully, where you're saying, hey, sub, thank you. You had given me the orange, but why did I miss it? And then you come back and you say, you know what? Next time I intend to get more colors. Now, this is coming out of me kind of spontaneously, just trying to give you examples. It's going to come out of you differently, but it's the idea of paying attention to this transcript and what you could have done better, and generally how you could do better in the future for both the judging session and your entanglement work.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. The words are hard. What's mostly important is setting this intention to improve your entanglement with the remote viewing session and then the judging session as well. Okay, go ahead. Go on.
Yeah, so sounds are like conversations and people noises, and that's a possibility, although that was probably pretty good, although the photo doesn't really show that, but that could be. For smells, fresh lipstick smell, fresh fruity, somewhat sweet.
But you say, notice you didn't mark those, and you say, okay, that was good. Those aren't in there. You know, give yourself, those aren't in there. That was good.
Home cooked meal, like it's probably in a household or a kitchen, so that's not bad. Aesthetic impact, kids outdoors. Well, no, but it's okay. Feelings somewhat. Feelings somewhat fun. No, that's okay. Let's see, the squares up at the top, the picture, that was really good.
There you go.
Yeah, that was maybe my interpretation of a perspective drawing of a rectangular object.
And I wanted to make a comment on that. And maybe I should just let you go, but I wanted to make a comment on that. You know, this is the first one, and I hopefully won't make as many comments with everybody else. But the other thing which I really recommend when doing judging is when you have something which is as good as those rectangles, you make a giant purple check mark or a giant A. You know what I mean? I mean, that was really good.
But it's really funny to me because I remember when I drew these, I thought it came to me like newspaper, like rectangles of newspaper with writing. And so it's always interesting to me at feedback time because yes, I can interpret it this way, but I remember the original like really quick image that made me write it down, which didn't have anything to do with glass.
Well, it's interesting. I wonder if that was an analytical thing with the newspaper, or did it come in at the same time? But even if it did, you know, it has to go through all of your history that's in your nervous system. And if it came across as newspaper, but boy, the way you even put that down, it just looks really good.
Yeah, I think so. Lots of small pieces to the picture I wrote below it, and that's really pretty cool because if I was thinking about constructing something like this, there are definitely lots of little pieces to this structure.
But did you notice you didn't mark it?
Yeah, I didn't.
Okay, so now would you say, oh, and you would notice, gee, I didn't mark that, which is kind of a negative. 5 seconds you come back and say, huh, look at that. Next time I do my judging, I'm really going to pay more attention to that sort of thing.
Yeah. Dark tunnel-like, yeah, definitely. I saw those little semicircles, half circles.
Yeah. That's
and dark, which is actually, part of the whole element is dark. Lightweight, that could have been because that seems kind of delicate to me, the glass pieces. Dangles, yeah, but like yarn.
It's okay, right?
Sure. Yeah.
I'm not a believer that you need to make everything match. You want to be balanced and reasonable, and so that's good.
Yeah, so for my summary, I think I put somewhat fun, outdoors, colorful, not real interesting to look at. And so, yeah, that definitely would for me, I
Yeah.
guess.
And
Yeah, so yeah.
you might have even marked that again as a judge. When you came in, you did self-judging here. You probably should have marked that with a purple check. Now notice, if you had marked all the things which you had missed during judging, that you now acknowledge you missed during judging, you would have scored that A much higher, even higher than the 2.5, which we went through together, right? Lots of small
Yeah.
pieces to the pictures. I think it would have appropriately been judged higher had
Okay.
you recognized it. Okay, Lynn, thank you.
All right, thanks.
Okay. Ramel, why don't you do one? And since I can't read your handwriting very well, why don't you go ahead and do your feedback session, including the comments on the judging. And wait, did I put your scores here? Yeah, this is particularly valuable for people who went the other way, because this is an opportunity to not necessarily, when you go through, do you criticize it, or sometimes you acknowledge that you were wrong, but you come up with something to improve you for the future.
Okay. I see that I wrote down reaching down, extending upwards, the angling horizontally, interjecting downward characterizes the angles and the downward and then the horizontal and the shape that to be is relevant. I got that image of the thunderbolt. I think that can be on the steep thing, you know, like yeah, the sharp thing on top of the metal. To me, that looks like a thunderbolt. I got highly elevated. This one is elevated, and I think this one is on top of a table. Is it?
Yes, there's a tabletop. Well, I think it's a tabletop. It's at the same level as the windows, but
Green, yes, it's green, black, white. The pointed thing that I drew on the sketch on the left side, that's relevant. Hard texture.
yeah.
I AOL stone, granite stone.
But notice that one was not marked. The straight line was not.
Oh yeah, that one is not.
And
The one below that I marked though.
okay.
But yeah, you're correct.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
That one should be marked A as well. There's some stones down there. I think that's a stone. Now, is this like a candle holder, candlelight holder?
You know, I don't know what it is. So nobody named it. So
I see the APPI with a pocket of space for something. That's why I ask. I intentionally place for a good function, so it's like that, perhaps. I sense old in a relevant, reverent way, like when you go to a church, an old reverence or something, which ages through time. What else did I see in here?
Man-made.
Man-made. Hollow. It's a good one as well.
Okay, so now what else are you going to do? So you went through all the good stuff. How did you react when you found out that you were you had a miss?
I'm pretty immune to that because I get some miss here and there as well, and it boggles me as well that you know, this and that. But I don't do that as much drama anymore. Okay. I just look at when I go to my feedback session, I just go with what is the target, and I put all my intent and my energy instead of being so critical about what I should have done, could have, would have, to, oh yeah, this is good. The angles, the extension upwards, the angling horizontal, the trajectory downwards, the sharp edges. These are the ones that's more relevant to me.
Okay, so you don't, when, as you did here, which I'm not criticizing at all. If you have nothing negative that comes up, I guess that's great. But you don't, when you look at all these B's, remember something and wish that you didn't get it or something, like, you know, the green or the outside.
There is a component in the picture of the outside as well. I know the main target is inside, so it's
Okay.
pretty much more inside than outside.
I want you to know I saw that and I didn't want to say it. Right now, it's clear that the B's must have been outside because you got so many of them. But right now, I would say, I wonder why I didn't notice and maybe put a small a at least, that there certainly is an outside component here. And, okay.
That would be a small a, not a big a, yeah.
Well, that's
so
exactly
at least
right.
That's a little...
No, that's exactly right.
Yes.
Now, I'm just wondering if you look at this, if you think you might have misjudged it. Is there anything else in here that's positive? You didn't mark this one.
Yeah, that one.
This was pretty strong, I thought. I mean, you've got the triangle shape.
Like
You've got the pebbles.
Or texture.
And I think this is the time to say that. Here, I see what you mean about the light, if there's supposed to be a light.
And what's interesting with that one is like prior to that, there was pockets of space for something. So I felt that is the progression of like, oh, because I have almost the same that I use for in my old place that I use for lighting. It's like a huge lamp that has a handle that made out of glass, and I put big candles inside.
Okay. Let me give you one last suggestion, Ramel, and thank you. And that is, I'm looking at the word damp here, okay, which is the exact opposite of this. And again, coming back, right, what I just said was a negative. Coming back, you might say, why would I get damp here? What? This is really dry, and really get into how you might communicate dry with your subconscious. And then also I always suggest, like, you know, we did at the beginning, do another little fast, real quick sketch to just capture what you wish your sub had given you about this. You know, the rectangles, for example, rectangles with a triangle on top. And know that you did great anyway. Your sub is giving you good information. And sub, thank you for that, and I'd like you to give me more.
Oh, so in every one of them, you correct it. Like, okay, no, this is not, it's this. And let's say I mention, like, I feel outside. Inside, I'm inside.
More inside than outside. Yeah.
So you go through just a fresh air. Oh, this is actually indoor air.
Right.
More indoor air.
Yes, you're spending more time then with the feedback target. Remember in the feedback section.
Go through each one of them and not just go through the one that you've had correct, but go through them and self-correct.
That's right. If they're just opposite. And some you do just ignore. I mean, you know, but you kind of are looking for opportunities to improve, and they're there, staring you in the face. Damp was an example of that. No, notice I'm looking here at dark. You didn't mark dark as an A. I would call this dark, right? And notice that, this judging, boy, oh boy, this judging is a bitch sometimes. And why did I miss that? Remember, 50-50, we're intellect, we're balanced here with the sub, and your intellect is sort of communicating with your sub and saying, sub, you did great. You gave me dark. And I don't know why I missed it at judging. That sort of thing, because you're paying attention now to this to improve it.
What would you do with something neutral, like I don't know what kind of sound you can hear from this place, and I wrote down here, humming of the wind.
I would probably, if that, I'm trying to be realistic. You have a lot of information here, and I mean, look, I'm suffering with this myself in terms of how much time to spend on it and all that. I do think if you can spend interesting time and enjoyable time with it and knowing you're learning, that's the right amount of time to spend. So it can go too far. But if humming caught your attention, no, there's no humming here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then I would say, what does quiet feel like?
Mm.
But, this all becomes very personal. What I believe you need to do is raise the level of awareness that you're doing improvements. The feedback time is all about improving and learning, getting better for the next time, as well as while you're doing that, you're also entangling with the early one. I mean, it's the perfect place for harmony, right?
Yeah, it
Because
seems
you're
to
going
me
backwards and you're going forward in time.
It seems to me that our task is not just analysis and judging, it's also self-correcting.
Right. You got it. You got it. And right. Thank you, Ramel. Perfect. Perfect. Okay.
Marty, I think that drawing down at the very bottom for him looks just like those loops of wire. I think he needs to feel real good about that. That's at the upside down loop.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I actually noticed that. Well, yeah.
Right.
Thank you.
And so
it looks like a planter to me, so that would make it damp. So I think there's a couple of things there we can celebrate.
Yep, you could put a plant in there or a candle. Probably could be used for multi things. But yeah, but you're right. Here you go. And again, you would say, my gosh, oh, sub, thank you for giving me that. And intellect, next time do a little better at the judging, will you?
Oh yeah, even up there, on page 2, the 2 pockets looks like the one inverted as well.
Yeah. And here, a little different, but you had curvature here. All of that, had you paid a little bit more attention to that, might have gotten you to go to a pass. Maybe. You know what I mean?
Yeah, even then, even here, it's like it's 0.5 and 3.5 is my original, which is pretty much the pass to
Which
me.
is close anyway, right?
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Lori is not here. So let me...
Here. How about David?
I'm sorry?
Lori is here. She's under the name David because we can't get David off.
Oh, okay. Then go ahead, Lori. Why don't you do your feedback session?
Did you have my paper up? Oh, that's it. Okay. All right. So for me, when I do have feedback, first I count the matches that I get for A and B, and I see which one has more hits on the matches. And then I pay attention to the ideograms and the sketches as maybe being more important than maybe the colors. And also, like I've been starting to say, what's the attractor for this feedback photo? Like what would the person look at first? What would attract them in the photo? Mm-hmm. And the AI. So I think because the matches were equal, I got like 9 matches for A and 9 for B, that I went to the sketches, and both my sketches were the shapes of grapes. And I had an AI that I was out in nature and a river runs through it, so I didn't consider that I was looking at outdoors in photo A, like you had just said. And even though I named stones, see how it's underlined?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so even though I named the target, I still went with the grapes,
Yeah.
so it was like a call that didn't turn out too good.
What did you feel was so strong again that you chose B over A, even though
It was the ideograms,
the
the attraction,
ideograms of natural biological, yeah. Mm-hmm.
and the AI where I felt good because I feel good when I'm out in nature.
Yeah.
And the
Okay.
sketch.
Yeah. Well, I would say learning that this stuff, when it's so good, you might want to give more credit to it. Also, would you consider stones to be natural? Or when you
Yes.
say natural, okay. No biologicals, but certainly this was really very good. And hopefully you now tell your sub, interesting the way that judging went. I need to pay more attention to that. But boy, you certainly did really nail it right here. And look at this shape. We're talking about the shape here. I mean, not only did you get the curve, you got the straight line across. And
Basic, and that doesn't, I'm sorry.
yeah,
When I use green and red, which doesn't show up on your paper. So that shape is showing that I wrote open mouth like, so that's my open mouth. But then when I looked at the feedback photo, I drew the shape the way it really was.
I see. Okay. So this is right. You saw that as open mouth. I see.
Yeah.
Open mouth like. So you did
Yeah.
not give yourself credit for that for A though.
I think I did. I'll check
Okay.
mark right my teeth.
Yeah, I can't see with the colors. And by the way, everybody, using different colors, even if you can't scan them and everything, again, this is mostly for you, is terrific. Colors are just wonderful for making it obvious when you glance at this, what's going on. Okay, now let me just say, when these numbers are as close as they are, I would actually consider this, as I did when I was doing the group judging, basically a pass. And when you turn this in formally in your group, you might want to change the B to a 3 or the A to the 3.5 to make it as a pass. Basically, you're communicating to the system and to yourself that I don't feel strong enough to even wager a little, even though I think B is a little better than A. So,
Well, I was kind of taking a bet. I was taking a chance.
yeah, no, I'm just
So
giving you
I
my,
really would come out like, I think I saw both of them, but I'm going with the.
yep, okay. Okay, very good. That's, yeah, very good. Okay, yeah, right, you did that afterwards. Yep, yep. Um, the heart, again, I don't know. You probably picked up a lot of that. And then you did get the squares. Okay, very good, Laura. Laura, you did well, and I think acknowledge that you got some insights to maybe the challenges of judging, which is how much credit do you give? Do you just count? And that's where the final judgment comes in. Doing counts and all of that are part of it. That's why we check and stuff. The strength is part of it. And then that 10% of bringing it all together at judging time in terms of the intuition is around as well. Okay, Donna. I don't see Donna unless you came in under another name. Okay, so let's do Donna again as a person who did a lot of B. Now the way I envision this, the way it happens with me, is at some point in time before the feedback session, if it was a hit or a miss. No matter what's going on, when you see this picture, and it said it was side 1, or you see this picture, you know you got a miss, and usually I have a negative reaction, a pretty minor one. Like Ramel said, once you get into this, you realize that you're going to have misses, but nevertheless, I have one. And then what I do is I come back and I go into the feedback session with wanting a positive learning experience from it. Now, for me, especially when there's something high like a 4.5 and a 2, my focus, rather than going on the good stuff, would actually go on, okay, what happened here? Okay, I got green. Oh my God, that is certainly not right here. And I would focus on black, but not just black. For me, almost every picture I see has some black in it, has some white in it. What I would focus on now is extreme black. The picture is hugely black. Black is like a dominant gestalt. Why didn't I get that early on? And I would communicate to my sub this idea of major black, if you will, like this. And so in similar situations, I would really want it to give me black. Now bright, why did I mark bright as a B? My gosh, look how bright this is. These windows are really bright. Oh, you know, I wonder if I was hung up and I thought B very early because the green I'm remembering. Anyway, this clearly should have been an A. Look at these lines. I didn't do anything with these lines, and look at all the lines that are here. Oh my, I would mark that again and notice that. Oh, that was a judging problem. I really have to work some more and be more careful on my judging. Okay, and here, opening. Well, this certainly has got a lot of openings associated to it. Circles B, I don't remember my judging, and I don't want to remember the judging in great detail, but certainly maybe the 4.5 was a little high. Well, I don't know. I mean, I just don't know about that now. But what I do know is, oh, look, I wrote smooth. I got that. I had written dynamics. I didn't mark it for either, but this one is certainly not dynamic. Here's an opportunity for me to do quiet and stable and still. Oh yeah, that's what all that feels like. That's what this feels like here. Get that. Get that consciousness. We can communicate that. I know that feeling now. This is really very still. So that's the sort of thing I would do here. I would bring in a bit of the judging. Clearly when you see something like you missed, like bright, but do it always in a positive learning way. Judy. Okay. We spent a lot of time on this. In fact, let's just pass Judy since she's not here. Evelyn, you are here. Why don't you do your feedback session? And you gave this a 5.5. First of all, feel really good and do your feedback session.
Okay, well, you know, I didn't see this thing as static. I thought it was a machine, and I didn't mark motion with yellow, but I think I should have marked that because I see that piece sticking out from the wall, the white trim sticking out on either side, the one in the front or the one on the side, like a handle. And I was almost looking at it like a popcorn maker or something where you turned a handle, and that's the engineering, and the changing shapes would be like this thing would be slightly in motion. That was what my sub saw, that it was like a machine rather than a static thing. but I definitely got the shapes. And if you look at this thing straight on, which in the, in your sub, you look at it from all sides, it looks like a hat. So I wrote hat-like over on AOLs because I thought, well, that's stupid. But actually, it does look like the front of a hat if you look at it straight on. So that was okay. And the engineering, and I think even power probably should have been yellowed because, like I say, to me it was like a machine, like something that was moving. And I did get the color gray and the idea of geometric shapes. So and cool. So the only things that I marked for the other one was changing and oily, but actually this thing is also changing. Every angle you look at it, the shapes look a little different. So and I didn't mark the word powerful either, but if this thing is a dynamic machine, then powerful would also go with it. So
Okay.
I don't know what my ideogram, I don't know how that, the word expanding was what came to me as a gestalt, so I don't know where those fit. But
Okay, very interesting because, and it shows you how personal this is and how personal it should be. Your interpretation and what you put down is all totally consistent, and I applaud that. Nobody else is here to have a different interpretation. That was your natural interpretation, and that was the one you had just honestly within yourself, and it certainly helped lead to a very nice judgment. So well done, Evelyn. Thank you.
I didn't notice the stones until other people talked about them, so I didn't see it as a planter, which is kind of strange because I'm a gardener.
Okay, interesting. Who knows? Maybe without knowing it, those dots there were a little bit of the stones.
Could be. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, John. No, John Moore is not here. Let's just take a quick look because he got a nice 4. Now he didn't mark his own transcript, so he might have, unless these are probably the marks, right? Yeah, see at feedback time, now maybe he would be able to see it, but that's why the check mark or A or a B works well next to it in a place where you can see it. But he got a lot of sounds, and again, I would use that as an opportunity to just teach quiet to my sub, because this is quiet. This is just a very quiet target. Okay, lots of curves. Okay, so there's always something to learn. That's actually the most important part of what I'm hopefully getting across to you here. Okay, Jerry. Yep, Jerry, go ahead. Why don't you do your session here?
This was my very first one, and I'm really surprised I got anything at all. I got so excited about it. The bubbles where I had put for B could actually be those little rocks at the bottom. Same with the ovals. I don't know about ripples. The circle, same thing, and the ovals. Squares, I got the squares right, so that's good. Water, no. I got orange, white, black, and...
Wait, water, no,
yellow.
You said. Okay. Why don't you use that to communicate to your sub the feeling of dry? I would say dry is an appropriate concept. Words are concepts, and it's the concepts I think that your sub gets. And oh, you mean you want that concept of dry for me to use the word dry? Those are the same. You know, that's just a suggestion on how to improve. Okay, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. And I can see in the colors that the tan and the gray could have gone to A.
Mm-hmm.
Fresh air, no. Cold, yeah, I guess it was kind of cool.
Well, we don't
and
know.
I think I was referring to colors. I don't know.
Ah, okay.
Sounds I totally missed.
Quiet again.
Again, it probably would be quiet. And anything dimensions vast, no, it is not. That was I identified as a miss. But I got the sketches.
Yep. Yep.
The one with the vertical lines, those weren't too bad. Even
No.
the one that I marked B is arc, so I could have also judged that as A.
Yep. And remember, orientation doesn't matter. The sub, unless maybe you can get very good at even getting orientation, but usually orientation is gets modified somehow.
Yeah.
You know, so the way we see is amazing, which shows that the subconscious is taking the physical images and managing to invert it.
Yeah, and even under the word water, it says arcs. That was clearly and should have been an A.
Good.
So I should have really judged this as an A.
Okay, so here you are, perfect. And you're teaching yourself that for the next time you judge, pay more attention to that sort of stuff. Also, I want to add one other thing. This was really a good session, especially for your first one. The fact that you got excited at judging. I remember learning this many, many years ago in a class I was giving where a guy was just so excited about what he got and everything, and it turned out to be wrong. I am convinced, because I've seen this so often, that somehow, you know, we're in a precognitive world. So what happens at judging time can, in fact, go back to remote viewing time, right? And getting excited, that emotion adds strength somehow. You know, we don't intellectually understand it, but I really recommend keep the judging 90% intellectual, keep emotion as much as possible out of it. So,
in fact, I've noticed over the last month that I've been trying this is that when I do the sessions, I do them really late and I'm really tired, the better they are.
Good.
In fact, one of them I fell asleep and it was spot on, you know, in the middle of it.
That's wonderful. That's that, you know, there is a special state we try to get into with cool down, and you found the way to get it.
At 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
I think she needs to celebrate the idea of the ship, because I think that thing, if you looked at it straight on especially, it could look like a cruise ship, you know, with the things sticking up and all that. So I think she should celebrate that.
Okay.
I didn't even think of that. Yeah.
Okay. And you see, and let me just comment on that. While I have no problem with that, this is where it becomes very individual. If you didn't see it, that's fine. If you do see it, celebrate it. Okay, very good. Hopefully you got the point. The feedback session is really the time for learning, and it's learning not only about opening up the communication channel for precognition, both ways, past and future, but also judging. The intellect is there with you at feedback time, and it can now learn to do future judging sessions better. Let's do a new prediction. This is the spreadsheet of all the predictions we have so far, and this is the new one that we're going to do today. We just finished the one with Apple, and it's above 150. So I just thought we would modify it a little bit, just because Apple is such an interesting dynamic stock, and make a prediction on in the following way. Will the Apple stock price close below 150 on June 19th? So this means on a specific date. And I actually did that because someone pointed out this could happen in 2 weeks, and I'm trying to keep our predictions to be a month or more. And so I've switched to this format. I mean, it doesn't really matter. It's yes, no. We describe and sketch our feedback target. Anyway, that will be the question. And let me just now get us in our remote viewing mode. We've come out of the feedback mode where it all does begin, but we're about to do a remote viewing session. And the cue, of course, is describe and sketch your feedback target, and we'll get that coordinate shortly. We also talked about the judging that's in between. This is where you actually make the prediction. Here, in a way, you're making a prediction in your mind in terms of the picture, but it's the judge that says, yep, it's clearly, I believe, A or B based on what the remote viewer says. The matches are so much better, etc. Now, you know, I just gave a reason, right, an intellectual reason, which can almost be viewed as an excuse for one of the misses we saw, the last one, where the emotion might have been involved. There are lots of things that I hear all the time where people will say they liked the other target better, or there was really an exciting program on TV and so they happen to describe that. Hey, that's what you have to learn to not do. Don't do that sort of thing. You got to keep your focus, and remember, the target is the feedback photo site you will see here during your feedback session. Period. I mean, ARV in principle is very simple. You just describe and sketch what you're going to see in the future. And once you accept that precognition is real, then it's just a matter of getting better at doing your precognition. Period. And yeah, in between, there's a guy who's trying to make this practical, and that's the judge. Okay, so going backwards in time is really the easiest way to understand that, because your feedback target is, in fact, the photo site associated with the actual yes or no outcome. Here, you're going to know the truth. Each of the two possible targets are associated with either yes or no. So whichever one it is the one you're going to see here. You'll always see what actually happens. It's the universe of the answer to the yes or no that decides which picture you see. Now, just so the words to the newbies become clear, we use the words side 1 and 2 as generic words for yes or no, but when we do financials, we use up and down or down and up, and they're random between the two sides. We have random generator numbers in the program. For sports, the side 1 or side 2 might be team A, team B, over, under, you know, the different kinds of wagers, the favorite or the underdog with points. All of these are equivalent to a yes or a no. It's binary. Now, all of this intellectual stuff, we do a lot of talking because that's how we communicate in the physical world, but we're about to get into the attachment, 90% or more, with the non-physical world. It's the subconscious world that is able to give us information from the future. And we're involved with something which really is so mysterious, so cutting edge, that I really believe, and you know, I just love this picture, because you just have to be happy about it. And yes, now emotions, feeling good about it, all of that should be the way you're going into your session, I believe. Also, you go in with this positive intention and attention and expectation. We want to always intend, of course, to describe and sketch our feedback photo, but we should expect to do that and expect it for this very next one, but at the same time expect to get better and better at it. But the remote viewing session we're going to get into, you're just going to expect to get a good match right now, this time that you're about to do. And you're going to pay attention to yourself, your own subconscious, because it's coming from your existing communications channel, and part of your intention is to expand that, if you will, and expect to expand it and get better and better at it. Okay, this is the kind of sheet you've seen before. This is the descriptions we've talked about. So let's get ourselves our coordinate. And I did set up a tasking for us. So I did that here. Again, this is random. I, in fact, don't know any more about this than I set this up here. And you can see the price closed below 150 on June 19th. And you would have the exact same thing for your group. So we will click now. And there you go. This is the thing that comes up. You would put in your email address. And so I just put in mine here. And the next thing, the appropriate group is defaulted here. We're going to do one coordinate. And we click here. And there's our coordinate. So on a sheet of paper, on the top of a sheet of paper, you should now write that coordinate. And I really recommend saying it out loud, even now. You haven't started your remote viewing session yet, though I know some of you tend to, and that's fine. You can turn me off. 352722. But for the newbies, I'm just going to go back and give a okay, so you're starting your transcript now. You put your name, the date, the time, the sheet here, and I'll be happy to send a copy of this to anybody who wants it. But at this point, for the newbies, you should just have your coordinate there. And this is the kind of information that you get. You've seen that already. The cool down, which is very important, I'm going to try to get that mindset for you in a way which I believe is valuable, but people come up with their own personal techniques for this. But this idea of recognizing that you, and not only the universe, but you have with you the very big, the very small, and consciousness. And this idea that your consciousness can come from something which is called quantum foam, a quantum vacuum, zero-point energy, is well established. Well, the fact that there is a quantum foam, quantum vacuum, that's well established. Fermilab, everybody talks about that. This is not debated anymore. Quantum mechanics has thoroughly demonstrated that at the level of the very, very, very small, okay, there's huge amounts of energy, lots of activity. And this is what this Fermilab guy meant, and I love this phrase, nothing is really something. And it's down at this level of nothing where I believe consciousness comes from. And during your cool down, you can use that. And that's what I would like to try to get you, your intellect. Remember, your intellect is still around here to accept and then get your subconscious to actually do with this communication channel. Out in the universe where there's supposedly nothing, an empty space, well, it turns out even there, quantum mechanics shows that at the level of the very, very small, and we're talking small at the level of, I don't know if everybody understands exponents, but this is a representation of what happens at the smallest levels that we believe our universe is. The word quantum means that everything comes in discrete units and even space. Well, we're talking about blowing up space by a factor of 35. So 10 squared, the number 2 would be squared. 1,000 would be 10 to the cubed. 1,000,000 is 10 to the 6th. A billion is 10 to the 9th. This is 10 to the 35. Smallness, we blew it up by a factor of 35. So what you got to get is we have no understanding intellectually or any other way in our normal life of what this means. It's so small, it's smaller than molecules, it's smaller than submolecules, and yet at that level, everywhere in space and time in the physical world, something is happening. This flickering represents stuff coming in and out, particles, antiparticles, electrons, anti-electrons. So guess what? When it seems like there's nothing there, and in fact, it is nothing from the perspective of the physical world, because it comes from nothing. It comes and then it disappears. Okay? So this has a real almost meaning to it if you think about it from the perspective of the physical world. I believe that when you get down now to this quantum level, how can I prove it? I can't prove it. So there's a perhaps in there. There is a non-random, in other words, we can influence this communication between the physical and this non-physical realities, the stuff that goes on in this non-physical reality, which is like outside of space and time. The quantum world is non-local. It connects instantly outside of space and time. Okay? We don't understand it. Intellect doesn't understand it. But guess what? It's real. This quantum phone is in fact real. So while doing your remote viewing, judging, and your feedback sessions, but we're now getting into remote viewing, this word grok, there's no other word that I know that captures the sense of depth that you need to get this. Okay, and by doing this work, every time you do it, I think you get it a little deeper and a little deeper. And it's just getting at both the intellectual level, in some ways that's actually easier than getting it to be in the deepest part of your being, that your subconsciousness is part of a communication channel between the physical and non-physical realities. And it's this information that comes up from the subconscious through this quantum phone, perhaps. That's where you're getting your information. So, you know, your DNA is huge compared to this. Your nervous system is huge. They're skinny parts of your nervous system that's small enough to be affected by this quantum foam. Your DNA is. This is how your whole nervous system then gives you the information using all of your physical senses. Okay. As I say, cool down is very personal. I'm about now to give you 10 minutes. Use roughly half of it for, and you'll have a sense of that, for cool down, and then roughly half for your session. People are different. Here is, oh, I didn't get a chance. I'm going to put this in the chat box. Here is a hemisync. There you go. This is a hemisync video recording, which has very few words in it. It has a 1 minute low warning at the end. It has something early on just to get you to go to your subconscious. And some of you may want to use that. Others of you will use your own technique. So take a few breaths, get quiet, and I'll turn this on now and I'll bring you back in 10 minutes. Okay, you've got about a minute to go. Go down to get one more precept or element or two or three. Okay, good. Come on back. If you used the HemiSync, be sure to turn off the follow-up one. I'm going to improve that sometime in the future, and I get around to it, so it's a standalone. Okay. Now, okay, so the next step here is the judging, right? So you're now going to put on your judging hat, and before we show the two pictures, let me just give you a little guidance based on the TARG confidence ranking system. We'll be using this 0 to 7 system. You saw it in play already. 0 is no confidence, 1 is little correspondence. 2 is basically chance. You get very quickly, you get the sense when, yeah, you know, you might have even gotten one shape and maybe a color, but you had so much other stuff that was wrong that you would just say, you know, I didn't make psychic contact, so you give it a 2. 3, you're at the point where you got correct and incorrect elements, but enough of the correct that it really indicates as the judge that the viewer made contact with the target. So the feeling is you made contact with the target. A 4, we get up to good correspondence. We have several matchable elements intermixed with some incorrect information. But now the sense is that these elements aren't just minor, there's really good correspondence, good matches with several of them. We take a 3.5 and you can put CRs obviously with in between numbers as being wagerable. This is where we basically, the judge says, you know what, I believe this prediction, I'd be willing to wager a few bucks on it. Okay, so this is where we go into the wagerable territory. But a 4 is good. A 4 you feel comfortable. Still always, of course, wager wisely, but you understand this is the boundary. Here's good. 5, the words used are unambiguous, unique, matchable elements, just a sense of much stronger. Okay, you can point to things or a group of things which tell such a good story that you feel this is unambiguous, unique, matchable, and that's a 5, which is really excellent. And those are the words that Russell Targ used when he set this up. A 6 is all of like a 5, but now you're bringing in analytical information, you know, that 10% of the mind at the RV level names the function of the target, say. At 7, you might actually name the target. You know, you might say Eiffel Tower. Down here, you might have a lot of rectangles and lines and tourist attraction and stuff like that, but here you might actually name it. So that's spot on, no incorrect information. So that's the kind of system that we will use. Now, judging is not assuming things will be literal. In the, and this is a great cartoon where a skeptic is judging a viewer who said it's a charcoal drawing of a woodchuck eating a small orange, and the skeptic goes in exactly the opposite direction that a judge should do in terms of being reasonable. He says, nice try, you little fraud, but that's a long way from an ink drawing, right, compared to a charcoal drawing of a beaver, woodchuck, eating a tangerine. And so, you know, analogy, shapes which are not exactly right, but close, just be kind of reasonable. The subconscious communication channel, which goes through all of your nervous system, your history, is not perfect yet. Okay, metaphors, resemblance, things like that. So that's where the judgment gets involved. So let's now remember this was the page where we came up with the coordinate, and you now would scan this somehow. Most people are using their cell phones or scanners. A lot of printers these days have scanners attached to them to upload to your computer, first to your computer, the picture of your transcripts, usually 1 or 2 pages or more. You can use a PDF file. What I have here is a dummy transcript, so we can go to the next step, and I will now submit this. Okay, there we go. This was chosen randomly. It turned out it was just chosen randomly when I clicked that submit button. Nobody but the computer even knew the, in fact, everybody, now that I say it, even the computer didn't know until I clicked that submit button. So here we are. Let me make that bigger. Now start your judging. I will bring over the TARG scale. Most of you actually already know it, but let me put that there. And then I did something. Let me see if this works. I want to bring over the TARG scale. So you can be marking, as you saw many others do, with A's and B's, different colors, the matches. And remember, when you look back, it'd be nice to not miss anything. You're now 90% intellectual, 10% intuitive. The intuitive comes in and, you know, are you close enough to say this is a match? You know, is the shape, yeah, you know, that shape is just like the shape in there. You know, it might not be exactly like this, say, but it might be close. Or this. Okay. And I want to get the TARG up there.
Marty, did you make the pictures bigger or not?
Yeah. Let me see if this one now. I can make the whole screen. Oops. I can make this full size. I won't be able to get the targ on there, but maybe I'll flash the targ. How about that?
Okay, it looks like a landscape, an aerial view with clouds and it's on the ocean.
Yeah, there's the interface. A lot of people get interfaces, land-water interface, clouds. Yeah. And let me just say, we saw a good example last time of someone who actually got the sense of boring. If this is like a boring target for you, might have gotten boring. But also sometimes people get things like looking down, which are feelings that you could get from this picture, that picture, the one on the left. Okay, and and now there's two things which you need to start doing now. The first one is in the chat box, just put like an A and then your CR value, a B and your CR value, and then also write those on the bottom of your transcript and then send it to me and we'll be able to look at them and talk about them. Okay, so here's the CRs, which hopefully is enough for you to remember and read. Okay, and now I'm going to set up a summary of all the stuff that you give me, and I put that over here. And I do that over here. Delete. Okay, good. Thank you. I'm getting stuff from you. But take your time. The judging is, as you know, important, and it takes as much time as it takes to do it right. Okay. Okay, so you put an A, most people are putting it this way, which is great. A equals, and then put the CR value, and then B equals, put the CR value for photo site B, and then send along via email. Let me see if I have any of those. But you keep doing your judging as long as it takes is just the right amount of time. That's interesting. Okay, so deal, okay. Lila sent hers in first. Let me get hers. But she didn't give me a ranking, did she?
Would you like me to send in what I just did with my ranking?
Yeah, because
Okay.
I like to see the judging, and I like to use it for when we do the next one. So yeah, if you don't mind,
Okay.
why don't you
Give
do
me a
that?
minute. Sure.
No problem.
Sure.
And also send me your CR. A equals CR for A and B equals the CR for B. It'll be at the bottom of what you're sending me now, so I can get it from there, I suppose. But I like to have it here. Okay. Why don't I start? Okay, John, while I'm waiting for Lila's, I'm going to start. Oh, there's Richard. Okay, let me do the second one that came in. Okay, Richard, I'll do yours. Okay. If anybody wants another look at the pictures, let me know, and I'll go over to them. But you probably have a good idea from short-term memory. Okay, very good. Marked up very nicely. I will put the pictures on in small size now. Let me get those. Here. Here. Okay, so that's probably good enough to let everybody judge and to now start talking about this. Okay, Richard, why don't you turn on your mic? And
Yeah, I'm on.
Good. And why don't you talk to us?
Basically, the initial thought was something oblong with darkness at the behind it. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, it's fine. Yeah, and like a darkness behind something, and like a vertical and like a 45-degree angle, sort of, not like a tree, but like an aerial sort of thing, like in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And I could see some sort of like a movement energy of some sort. It reminded me a bit, I mean, this is where it goes on to A as well, where I was imagining looking at a boat pushing through water. So it's like a movement of energy. I've seen a lot of boxy things going on, but I didn't, there's a bit of A there as well, that's anything. I normally take a bit longer, but you never know.
Yeah. It's interesting because you marked, what is that word?
Fresh.
Fresh. Okay, so you got some pretty good A's, but you also, let's look at your B's. The B's, okay, the lines, that's this stuff, right?
That's correct.
Darkness. Though you don't think this is darkness?
Well, it's like to me it's a bit like a thumb over a dark background.
Okay, I see. I see.
I mean, it's hard to explain. That's why I've done like a bit of shading. And then I sort of be like a bit of movement energy coming through. And I put some box shape.
See, with your words and this shape, it's not black, it's darkness. But that, I mean, that's particularly strong, right? Maybe a big B. And then man-made structure, moving aside energy. I'm just,
it's like it's flowing of energy. It's like something going on rather than it being static. I could see something flowing, like moving.
Okay, you guys give me permission, and I love it, to basically just share with you what comes up in my mind, right?
Definitely. Well, you know,
and
my judging needs work. I know for that for sure.
Well, no, so far I don't think so. So far I think that's really good. You can't tell the temperature. That's chicken. So neither of those. No, I don't have any problem with you judging except, and this is just a comment. Oh, you did write black back here. You wrote that at the time of judging. Okay,
it was a very, very dark background. You know, this boxy shape was actually standing out. Like I said, it's like putting a thumb on a black background. That's how much it stood out, and it had a definite edge of up and over and back down.
And a definite edge. So that's why you. Okay, but now my comment here. Let me just give you my comment for better or worse. Is the moving aside energy? Clearly, this is taken from. Well, I guess not clearly, but an airplane. So you understand what I'm saying. I'm just wondering if
that could be an A.
That might be a little A too. That's all. Yeah, in terms of judging and my comments. But
no, that's good.
I otherwise, and again, if anybody else wants to make comments, always feel free. You can turn on your mic. And
Marty,
Evelyn said, oh, and I see your comment, Evelyn. Yep, ocean flowing.
Yeah, I just wanted to say the power just went out, so I have one of those things, you know, backup power things. But if I disappear, it's because the power's off.
Oh, wow, okay. Nothing too serious. Anyway, but she's right. Moving aside energy. You know, again, now this is where, remember, we're 90% intellectual, so I can talk about at feedback. Imagine if you were at feedback time and this turns out to be the picture. We don't know that, right? We're doing judging. Oh, you'd say, look at that. There's moving energy here, and oh, maybe it was trying to tell me the plane. So that's why at least you want to give it a little A.
Well, the thing is with this picture, I've got a lot of B's there, but my gut is calling for A for some reason. But purely on it's on the draw, and I have to go for the B. But
is that because of what we just said, or was that?
Well, no. Sometimes you just feel like it's when you choose a picture, it may have been the wrong one, or.
Okay. Okay. Now wait. This is really something I am working on big time, and I do think it's important. John Herlosky calls those things nags. Don't know where it come from. If it came from, out of nowhere, something came from your subconscious, and it's worth taking a look at. And if it's strong enough. Now, this had to come during your judging session, having nothing to do with what I'm saying now.
Well, the thing is, with my drawings, sometimes the initial perception, which is, like I said, that thumb shape over the black background, has actually been incorrect in the past, and a little bit longer into the session I start to get the true pictures, but I'm still trying to analyze it. So
okay, well, okay, fair enough, and so am I, because I get nags, and I think that's about the best word for it, an ARV nag, both sometimes personally, but more often as group manager. And I'm still trying to figure out what to do with them, because, is it because we're not confident enough in ourselves because we get misses sometimes, or is it something from the feedback session coming into the judging session? And the fact that you brought it up is the only reason I'm talking about it, because it sort of adds uncertainty to the system, and I don't want it to do, but we live in a real world, and as I say, Hrolowski has talked about it, I've experienced it, and now you brought it up. So it's just something to be aware of, and something which you, as the judge, this is why I often say judging is the most difficult session in ARV. So there you go. That's now out there in webinars. Okay, good. Thank you. Let me go.
Yeah, I'm not using paper anymore either, so it's something new for me.
Oh, you do it on a computerized something or other?
I've got a tablet with a PDF editor.
Okay. Okay, that's interesting, because I've actually done everything but the actual sketching on my smartphone. Okay. Let me now, so that was Richard. Let me see if I've got Lila's, just because she really did put hers in first. Oh, there she is. Okay, so let's do Lila next, and then we'll do you, John. Okay, very good, Lila. Let me get this so we can see the pictures, the photo sites. There you go. Okay. I've known several people who do mostly words. That is great. And then you do your, that is kind of cool. Okay, talk to us about this. Oh, and let me see what your A's and B's are. Will you tell me what your CRA is and what your CRB is?
Sure. My A is a 5,
okay.
And I believe my B is a 3.
Okay.
Is that what I put?
Okay, so go ahead. Talk to us a little bit about this.
So I started kind of early. I started while you were still talking. The number.
A lot of people do. I know, especially, this is your second or third one, so yeah.
Right. And one of the first impressions I got was a hot air balloon up in the sky floating around. And take a look at that picture of A. I mean, I don't know how much closer I could have got to thinking about that.
Right, that's really right.
Yeah.
Now let me ask you this. How come on this sheet of paper, you wrote end way down here. So this is your summary? Is that what I'm seeing here?
Oh, no, I don't really have a summary. I didn't write a summary, sorry.
No, don't be sorry. A lot of us don't write summaries. You've built up your own style. But what I'm wondering is, you said this about the hot air balloon, it came first. Oh, yeah. And you wrote it there. But
yeah, I wrote it there because I didn't want to focus on it. I find myself focusing on things and I go, nope, I don't want to focus on that. Let's move on.
Okay, but it doesn't look like it was the first thing. Okay.
Well, it wasn't really the first thing, but it was in my head. That very first drawing, the big one with the loops.
Here,
yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Yes. That was my very first ideogram.
Okay.
That I drew. And that was the enormity, the immenseness of the sky. That's what I was getting.
I just find it interesting, and I really it goes along with something I do. It looks like you start some stuff at the bottom to do this workup. You sort of freeform on the page. Okay. Okay. Very
Yes.
good. Very nice.
And then other things come to me too, and I just write them down. I'm finding that things come to me, and sometimes I don't write them down, and then I look at the picture and I go, "Holy cow, there it is! Why didn't I write this down?"
Right. Right. And that's
So,
okay when you're self-judging to use that. It's fine to use that.
Okay. Okay, so I just got the sense of being outdoors, of being airy. I wrote airy twice in smells and textures. The colors, pink came to me, pink. And I thought, okay, so I wrote it down.
Right.
And there it is on her.
All right.
The red in between her legs.
Yep.
And whatever that is. So I just, the dimensions, I got big, high, up, large, all that stuff is A.
Yes. I can see you definitely got more A's. Did you count them up? But there's definitely looks like there are a lot more A's than B's.
Well, I didn't count them all up, but I just rated myself as a 5 for the A's.
That looks good. And I also agree with you. The hot air balloon idea, maybe that is where the picture was in fact even taken from. We'll never know, but it's certainly a possibility. And you see, sometimes things come in for other reasons, not necessarily related to the picture, but they match. Okay, that is very good. I can't quarrel with that. Flowing, tall, flying. Oh, come on. Very good. Clouds. You named the clouds.
Yeah.
Excellent. Very good. So that's a 5.
Thank you.
And I would agree with that. Thank you. Okay. I think. Okay.
How about the singing and dancing she also has?
Let's see. Did you see singing and, oh, yep.
Or AOLs?
That's right. Those would definitely, if we come back later and it's the other one, you're going to say, how come I didn't mark those with B's?
So when I'm doing my judging, if I have things in my AOL, I should mark those as well if they match?
Yes.
Oh,
if they match well, I would say so. You know.
Okay.
You didn't name it exactly right, so I understand, but nevertheless the point made would be if we were to come back, that guy is not singing or dancing, but you know, he's playing a instrument, and so it's related.
Somebody could be in the background. We just don't see them.
Maybe, but it's close enough that that if you had put a B there, we would have understood it, and you would have explained it that way.
Okay.
But you're right. Usually these are more like name-like, but you know, anyway. I think a B would have been appropriate there. I would not quarrel with that idea. Okay, now let me go get John. Okay, let's see if I can make you a little bigger. Apparently it's not letting me. Okay, John, why don't you tell us what's going on?
When I was doing the ideogram, I got motion immediately as the main theme. And motion for me is when a ideogram tails off down from high to low. And then I started probing it, and I couldn't. It was actually pretty difficult for the first 5 or 10 minutes because I'm like, where's the data? I'm not getting much. And then so I wrote down motion, and then I actually got subject later on in the session. So I started with textures up the top, and Hard and Smooth seem to match B, but the colors are pretty much all in A, green, white, and gray.
You didn't mark, I don't see a B here. Am I missing something here? A marked B on what would clearly be a match. Why am I?
Well, I didn't. I didn't mark B on the guy, but I still counted it up because I don't really have enough. Without him, I don't have enough B.
I see. Okay.
To be a 2.5, but I didn't really get a subject ideogram either, so that.
So at best, you'd make him a small B.
Yes, I gave him like half a point.
Okay.
And then so throughout, so the main theme was motion, and then right away, I'm out and in some sort of natural environment like nature, and I got green and I got water and grass, and then motion, flowing and rushing were the sounds that I got. So I figured, you know, if it was photosite B, we should have heard something, some sort of music or something loud. But I got a rushing, like a sound of wind, or like you would, if you're standing next to a river and you have that rushing, whooshing sound.
Right.
That was what I was getting. AI down at the bottom, scenic, relaxing. And then I went to the, and then I go to the center. The center is where I start, you know, later on in the session. It's about halfway through. I got that there was a guy with like a seatbelt, like a harness on, sort of strap.
And that's when you skydive, huh?
Yeah, falling or diving, rafting. There's some, you know, it says subjects horizontal, but orientation is so difficult. I get that wrong all the time. Just the fact that there's motion. But yeah, definitely the main theme was motion. Even in the summary, I'm like motion, and then I kept getting an AOL drive for waterfall because it was in nature and it was a rushing sound and motion. So rushing, motion, and that's it. So.
Okay, that's interesting.
There's a lot more data to write up in Site B as well. It's like I didn't get anything man-made or any other structures, which also helped me to judge Photosite A, because I usually pick up on that stuff.
I would say in some sense I'm hearing, and it's appropriate, you're using a bit of your intuition in here and your previous experience to downplay. I mean, again, there's a certain level of motion here, but not the kind of motion that you're used to getting, which would be associated, you know, with a plane or some object moving here, and there is motion here.
I counted motion towards the B score, but also on my page 2, which you don't have, I asked myself, okay, what's the attractor, what's the interesting element in this photo? And I just kept getting motion, and not much visuals. And if you ask that question, if Site B ends up being, I mean, the cello is obviously the attractor for me.
Right.
And I would have gotten some sort of man-made ideogram from that, which I didn't get on page 2. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you. Very good. Let's see what else we have here. Okay, Lila. Lynn. Let's do Lynn. Okay. We'll put you over here. And there we go, Lynn. Why don't you? Very good.
Okay. Yeah, I'm kind of, it was John, right? I was kind of with him. I was having a hard time getting things, but I thought it was more B than A, because I think this one picture that where I put the beadboard, I had like those, to me that reminds me of like strings, and then that like B, it reminds me of like on a bow, at the bottom of a bow. It kind of has that shape. So, and not too many other matching elements, but I also got a picture. I also would get pictures of like an outdoor landscape kind of thing, but not so much from an aerial view, more from like being at ground level.
Right, that's your A here.
Yeah.
This could be an interface. I didn't see CRs. You decided not to rank them. You felt uncomfortable. How come you didn't give confidence rankings?
Oh, I didn't write them down, but I did put them in the chat box. I gave an A, I gave a 2, and for B, I gave a 3.
Okay, I must have missed that. Doing too many things. Okay, good. I just gave you a 2 and a 3 in the chat in my summary. Very good. So let's see if there's any other comments I want to make. I understood what you said. Well, you got grass here. Sweet natural. Okay. Was that A? I guess it was for both, but...
No, the A goes with the picture. Yeah.
Okay. But wouldn't you think sweet grass and sweet natural would work here?
Probably not that high up in the air. Does that make sense?
Well, no, but, you know, it's as if, oh, I see. You're saying you're imagining yourself being way up here so you wouldn't smell it down there.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. That's interesting. And knowing that, that also affects everything you do. See, my consciousness, when I go here, senses everything that's in the picture.
Oh, okay.
So like at feedback time, I'd go back and I would touch the water, you know, and I put my hands through the grass. But that's what I do, just because then it makes the whole picture, the whole photo site more real to me because my consciousness can do that.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
So you might think about adding that to how you do things. Again, all I do is suggestions. Guess who's in charge? The viewer is in charge.
Yep.
Okay, very good.
Hey, Marty, the concept of a tornado, I think that's more on the A.
Yep. Yep, that's certainly true.
What if it was a hot air balloon that could be like a jellyfish too, shape? Like strings and a ball, you know, a ball of blood.
I love it. See, this is so good why we do this, because you see, you get the different perspectives, and judging is the best time to have other people's perspectives because it opens you up, hopefully, to other ways of looking at things, which you may want to bring into your judging. Mm-hmm.
Right. That actually that jellyfish thing, when I was writing it down, the image reminded me of like that symbol that the state of New Mexico uses.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I have random associations, but that's what kind of came up to me. So that's why I put New Mexico in the AOL. And then I was looking, I thought, well, could that be like part of I was thinking like on a guitar. It has like that hole and has strings.
Yeah, well,
but that doesn't really go with a cello. So anyways, I disregarded it. But it is interesting because we do have personal associations and other people will see things now, you know. And
right.
It's very, very nice, interesting.
And the question is, does your subconscious, see things and report on things? And that's what you're trying to learn, all of that, and trying to put it all together. And that's our challenge. Okay, Lynn, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Evelyn.
Well, I'm still here. My laptop is still on, so.
Okay, good. Okay, so tell us about this.
Well, I didn't feel like I was getting a lot of information, but what kept coming to me was this idea of something flowing up, and I wrote pulse in the gestalt, so it was almost, you know, in the beginning I thought it was almost like blood flowing up, but it was flowing out from that, upward from this. So I put flowing up, and then I tried again, and this time it was almost like a mountain range with things flowing up and out of it. And so I think that I was getting the water you know,
This looks like a real interface.
The cliffs and the water flowing out of it. So I'm pretty sure that's what I was seeing. And then I've put the word mountain there. I didn't put motion, but flowing was the word that it just seemed to go.
Do you see
and red came to me while I was doing that drawing, and red only fits the other ones, but that's the only thing that really did fit the other one real well.
You know, what's interesting, and you were the one who, as I recall, basically said something about boring.
No, not me.
Oh, okay, someone else did. But sometimes if there is only a little bit of information, the fact that you didn't try to make it up is really good. You know, it makes what you did get more important.
Absolutely.
And so I really kind of like that, the flow and the shape here. And you gave yourself a 4.5.
Well, I tried the third one. I tried just about the time you called time. I tried to get one more view, and that's when I got the one I call the wing shape, but it basically it still fits the A, although it could be the guy's arms up, you know, so I gave it a AB, but it still kind of goes along with the shapes on that A, so I really pretty much got A. I wanted to say, you know, I did the one for 6 o'clock this morning. When I did that last night, I kept coming up with the same shape that looked like heads, and I got frustrated because I kept coming up with the same shape, and it was a photograph of about 6 kids' heads. And so it's kind of funny, you know, you can get frustrated thinking you're coming up with the wrong thing, but it's just that's the predominant thing in the picture.
And that's beautiful. You just take what you get and then you thank your sub for it, if it's a lot or a little. Let me say one other thing though. In the mornings, every time except when I do webinars, everybody gets a different picture. So other people did not get heads. I just want you to know yours is unique.
Oh, really? Oh, I couldn't stop getting heads, and I was thinking
so
I
that's
was
good.
crazy.
No, but I just want you to know your picture was unique. Other people were not getting that.
Huh.
So I just wanted, you know, not everybody understands that, but everybody gets a unique picture most of the time, except when I do webinars or I have teams now. But okay, thank you. I do want to say, as good as this is with what you got, and maybe the 4.5 is appropriate, and I understand why you did it, I probably would have given it a little less. You know,
could the flowing up and out be sine waves? Because sometimes I see sine
and
waves.
again, the motion could be from here.
I thought of that, the motion of a string, and I almost put that down, but it was like I had the idea of a mountain at the same time, and so, you know, it's the ocean fits that. A string doesn't fit the idea of a mountain behind it.
No.
Could be metaphorical too. You have to consider all the angles of how data comes through.
Right, but it definitely could be a string moving, because if you've seen the sine waves for strings, you know, they kind of look like mountains moving along.
What about the ideogram? There's no score on that.
Yeah, it's
you know, I still haven't learned enough yet to know, but it looked to me like a landscape. So maybe that loop is the balloonist or the airplane.
That's a classic subject ideogram.
Yeah.
Is it what would you guys call it? I still don't know, you know, I just draw what seems to come to me, but I don't know what it means.
That's perfect.
Doesn't that mean life form?
Yeah.
That loop?
Usually.
Usually, but not always. I've had one that I identified as a life form and it turned out to be something else. So.
It's also interesting that she has that line in front of it. I would almost classify that as 2 ideograms, like a complex, that would be a landscape and then a person. Is how I would do it if it was me.
Yeah, if it was yours. But again, the key, and it's what you said, Evelyn, is you need to learn about your own ideograms, or are they pictograms, what they are. So just by constantly watching them, that's how you learn.
Thank you.
You know, thank you. Okay. Ramel, let's put you over here. Oops, I did that wrong. I lost you. I will find you again, though. I promise.
I'm here.
Oh, that's not you. Wait, I should get rid of the old ones. Okay, wait, let me bring you up again. Here you go. Okay, and you have 2 pages again? Yeah, very good. Okay. Oh, you started 4.5 and went to 5.
Yep.
During your regular judging, not based on anything done after that.
Correct.
Okay, so good. Explain to us your 5.
Well, my first thing is that I have a hard time getting the target right away, so I have to do it second time again. The first one I got moving upward, dangling, coiling up and around, looping across. That pretty much describes the clouds. I gave it an A.
Right.
That one looks like the guitar. So it's like a B and an A as well, because the landscape on that one also could connect to the shape of that as being solid. Like what I said, I drew an arrow, an up arrow.
Yeah.
And to me, that's like, to me somehow my subconscious telling me it's up, it's up. So I got rocket ship, I got bird, I got chicken, and I have even fluffy on there as well. So when I did the second ideogram, second time around, I wrote down flying horizontally and descending downwards and elevating itself higher. So this, again, that describes A. So
okay.
And then on the second page, I felt I need to draw a light source somewhere. So I just did that, the ray, like the sun. But then there's a light source somewhere, and I named it light source dancing up high. So there's a connection with the A as well, lightweight. I drew a rough sketch. I try not to name it, but I have it like, oh, okay, it came out as a bird again. So that's definitely A for me. Up high, elevated, floating.
Right.
They're all A. Soft texture, I presume that would be A. But I got some B's, like a red, yellow as well. Yellow can be possibly an A as well. Feather again, so it's just like birds, feather, rocket, up high. So this is definitely, to me, like an A component. I did that as an A because of the terrain. When you look at it, it's like this sketch connotes to the A, how it looks like. On B, I got the sense of celebrating the B, but then that's kind of like relative, because if I see this and if I'm in the picture of A, I would be celebrating life. I would be up high. I would be in like.
Let me ask you this, because it's staring us right in the face. People coming together. We were talking about AOLs and should you mark them or not. I noticed people coming together you did not mark as a B. So maybe you feel, and Lila didn't do it either. Hey, it's like I don't know what's quote the best. Do you not mark things if they're not? I mean, this is people coming together.
Yeah, I guess my sense is like there are so many, I'm pretty much like I have a lot of data that somehow I tend to gravitate to the one that really is like, I'm being pulled towards like, okay, this is the marker. This is not quite significant. Because when I look at this one, yeah, but now I like look at it, analyzing it, yeah, that should be a B.
And that's what I mean. Again, this is where the judging.
Yeah, but yeah, it's weird because I'm drawn to like not really paying attention to that. I was just drawn to something more relevant, like the feather, the birds. But I see your point. But then again, when you look at that, those
now, let me
life
just
forms and people. Go ahead.
I just got to say, I have experienced personally, and almost everybody who has done this gets drawn, you know, about down here someplace to one side or the other. And that's a mistake. I think you will even acknowledge it's a mistake most of the time. And again, maybe that's the 10% of your intuition telling you that's what you should be drawn to. But I've seen myself get drawn to one side or the other, and then I overlook as a judge stuff just like this. Now, I'm not saying that's relevant this time or not, but a judge, you're judging. I mean, you really are making a judgment about what happened at remote viewing time and which picture it matches the best.
Yeah, I see your point.
Okay, okay.
But I put down here celebrating, that's a B. Happy is relatively A and B because I'm happy if I see that elevation.
0.5. It's not like you ignored it. Look, I'm not criticizing. All I do is share. All I do is share my thoughts and feelings. That's all I can do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. This let's see if I would think about judging it any differently. Your B's, jubilant, excited, elevated, interesting. This is just shows you an interesting word. You know, in this context where they all come together, this is almost more like a B. And this is where words become, you know, I don't know what feeling you got if they all came in together.
Yeah, even the words, the phrase dancing up high, I don't use that together. The phrase dancing up high. Like I've never used those phrases together.
Right, right. You wouldn't.
So,
is AOL of people coming together? Is that what you're discussing?
No, no. Now we went up to jubilant. And the word elevated
and then
is one of those words where your emotions can be elevated. Jubilant, excited, happy, which might go along with all of these. It's just that words are hard. That's why when you self-judge, you got a better shot at knowing what the feeling was. Does it go better with this one or this one? But, you know, I noticed you made elevate. Elevated also means high. So I can see why you made it an A, but this is why I'm just commenting, you know, for all of us to understand how hard judging is sometimes.
Yeah, and then floating. Up high, floating, lightweight.
Right. Okay, no, I get it, and I
that's why I changed it to 5.
Can't correlate. That's why we went from a 4.5 to a 5.
Yeah.
And I think your story, you know, sometimes you get a story out of these, and you've got a stronger story for A than B, but you gave B a 3.5.
Yeah, what was the, like if you were going to write a summary or if there was an attractor for you, what would it be? Out of all that?
Well, I would be like my major theme would be up high, elevated, floating. There's a major dramatic emphasis on, you know, subconsciously going up high.
And you got that right away. You know, it's almost like your Gestalt.
The elevation. Yeah.
The Gestalt.
The elevation.
Yeah. We talked very briefly this time about Gestalts, but John has brought it up a couple of times now because indeed it is important. The main, what he calls an attractor, the Gestalt, the big picture, the thing that comes in first that you might notice first.
Arrow.
All of those, right. All of those are very important. They usually come in first, but not always. There's very little that's a not always in this business. Okay. Let's go to the next one.
Yeah, mine was unfortunate because I have, motion is the main theme and it's in both photo sites. So I was like, oh no.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I don't know if motion is primarily in both, but It can be, and the more we're talking, the more I see that. It's impossible to get perfect. Oh, wait, okay, so what am I doing? We're going now to get Jerry. Is that how you pronounce it, Jerry?
Yes.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, and here, and here. Okay, very good. Talk to us.
Okay, the first impression I had, which is my gestalt, was of a road, like looking out the window at a road in the desert.
Okay.
And so, okay, I thought, well, that can't be it. And I tried to set it aside, but it kept coming back. And I came up with grassy and smooth, which could apply to A, but I also came up with spiky and pebbles, which could be, pebbles could be the coins that go in the cello case. Mm-hmm. And spiky, I thought, was the chair legs or the bow. I came up with green, but I should have made that A. I didn't. Mm-hmm. I somehow thought it was a miss. The brick red and the yellow and the tan, those are obviously to me B's. Mm-hmm. But the bright and the gray and the white were all, and blue were A's. The smells I thought were dusty and cut grass, but I don't think that really applies unless you really stretch it. Comfortable, I felt comfortable with A. The horn I thought was the sound of a cello, which would be B. Mm-hmm. Both of them were outside, and A was more relaxing. Of course, the first thing I do after I do the gestalt is all those little sketches, and they could, I'm not a very good drawer. The ones with the four lines, those could be the chair legs. But
or the strings.
B, or the strings, yeah. Mm-hmm. Or B was sort of, I don't know, that could all, the arc to me was like sort of the bottom shape of the cello. Mm-hmm. Or the case. Mm-hmm. The little angular arrow was, I'd say, was A, because there's lots of little triangular lines in A. And same thing with the below the A, where it says A and it's got two parallel arcing lines, that kind of looks like the surf line. The A below that looks like a mountains with a road, that's sort of that dark shape underneath of the waves, but it's upside down. And the arc, that could be A or B. And there was a thing that kind of looked like a map, which is A. I put that as A. And then when you said, here, pick one more thing, somehow I came up with spider and bricks. I don't know where that came from.
Interesting. Okay.
So I gave, you know, A a 4 and B a 3.
Okay.
There is a map on the wall behind the lady as well.
Oh, okay. I didn't even see that. Mm-hmm. Like a subway map or something.
The cut grass, I probably kind of in a metaphorical way, and down here, I could see that being an A. You know, it kind of looks like there's green and grass down there, but maybe not. You know.
Those things, those pieces of data are indicative of an outdoor.
Right. So
which
all
she
that,
wrote down, and she wrote down that also.
Outside.
Although she got A and B on that, I don't understand why, but
yeah.
Well, because it's outside of a building in B, I think.
Oh, and I see
on the street.
That's a hallway, it looks like.
Yeah, I see it inside. Yeah, especially with the map inside a train station, bus station. That map looks like, you know, the map in a London, rail. What do they call it there? Anyway, you know, a London train station.
Jerry, can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
I figured out, I don't know if you're using a scan or a photograph, but I figured out how with my scanner to darken it up and make the contrast more, you know, so that my eyes aren't as good as they used to be. So it's hard for me to read this. If you, when you're scanning, you can actually make the contrast better and darken it up a little, and then it's easier to read.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry about your eyes.
Oh, well, I mean,
Just letting you know, to me it looks okay. To me it looks
but it's
okay.
pretty light on this screen. I like using my big screen, but it went off when the power went off.
Yeah.
Because here it looks okay to me. I don't know how it is to others, but anyway, notice most of the time you're just doing this yourself, so you have it all. So, okay, in the group. They're close, I guess. Go ahead, John.
I was just going to say, as far as the up there on the top, just a minor thing where it says question. Rather than talk about the stock, I would say describe the feedback target for X number X, because you know, we don't really care what the actual target is. We want it to describe the feedback, not know what the question is. Like if it's a baseball game, we don't want to think about baseball. We want to think about just the feedback photo.
That just makes me easier to find it when I'm going through all my papers.
Yeah, okay.
So.
Okay, very good. I see grassy here and I see grass here. Pebbles.
I always put like,
could
sorry,
also
but to go back.
be here. But that would just add to A anyway. Interesting. I mean, I agree pebbles could be here. That's close enough. Mm-hmm. But I think it would also be here. Again, I'm telling you, judging, we just go back and it's rare we don't miss something. It would be nice if we could all get over that. And I clearly put myself in that category. Very good, Jerry.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's do Lori. God, I see Irina, you're here too. No, that might have been something else because she's in Russia. So let me do this and this. Okay, Lori. Why don't you tell us what's going on here? Ooh, 14 and 8. You count them, which is good. These are indicators. You know, when we go through all of this, then the key is when you come back, I at least try to go through it a second time independently, sort of make sure that I didn't miss anything and that sort of thing. Counting sometimes is useful. I actually do that sometimes. But also I look at the strength. None of you are yet using that, and maybe you never will, and that's fine. The viewer's in charge. But Lori, do you have a mic?
Yeah, I did go back over it. I was kind of rushed because it was a little too small for me to see. I'm in a sunny room and there was a lot of reflection.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, yeah, so I was feeling like it was the ocean the whole time. That's why I gave it such a strong rating. And
well, when did you come to the conclusion it was the ocean all the time? What does that mean?
I was feeling it. You know, I was thinking it's the ocean.
Okay. And wait, now I just want us to get into this because we're judges. But we also, with self-judging, which as you know I encourage, we do remember the nature of our session. So that's natural. It's not like it's a negative. It's only a negative if it causes you to misjudge the B side. So
right, I was trying not to have a big AOL for the whole thing.
There you go. So that's the only point I want to make with that. Nothing wrong with that. It's very natural. You know, if you looked at the ocean and during the RV session you remember that, but you just don't want to misjudge the B side. That's all. Okay, so go ahead. Show us. Right, you got motion, organic right away, natural land, water. Yeah, all of your first stuff.
And the biological, the fish and the forest creatures. And then I got green, white, and blue, and that's basically all the colors in A.
Right.
I don't think there's any yellow in there.
And I want you to know, I always consider that so significant because, you know, they're usually money colors and things, but if you get them exactly right or predominantly right and only miss one or something, I give that actually a lot of credit. So that's good.
Yeah. Also, the water is reflective. When I got warm and cool, I was thinking about the water being cool and the sun being hot.
Okay.
And I did see flowers. I did see something that looked like a cup. And then something like shoelaces, which seems to appear on the map in photo B.
You gave that B. Yeah, that makes sense.
So delicate smooth. Like the water
Yeah.
smooth is smooth to base baton.
We talked earlier about ideograms. Is this a people ideogram for you?
It's something that's an animal, like it could be an animal or a human.
Okay.
That's the way
everybody is different. So when you say biological, okay. Oh, and that's why you actually gave it a B as well.
Yeah, because if you look my pre-session, I saw a woman and a man's face. You know, before the session even started, I saw.
Whoa. In other words, you're right. Oh, here, you wrote it right here.
Yeah.
Woman, man, wearing glasses. Oh, my.
He's not wearing glasses, though, is he?
She is, I think.
I thought I saw the man.
Yeah. No, I don't know. That would that would change, I think, a little bit my feeling about B.
Okay.
I don't know what the rest of you feel, but come on. Interesting. And then the rest of it is over here. That would cause me a long moment of pause. That's all I'm telling you, Laurie. I didn't.
Yeah, it really didn't faze me, but maybe it'll turn out to be.
Yeah, yeah. You know, when we come back to this in a month, let's all remember these kind of conversations because this is how you learn, right? You were using that 10% of the intuition to kind of not give this credit. As you said, the ocean, and there's an awful lot here that matches that. I understand that. And we should find out, at least for you, a piece of evidence based on what happens. Interesting.
She also has some words down. It says smoother B-A-S-S, bass or bass.
What I wrote in the judging. And I read it in red, but for some reason it's not coming up.
Bass is a tractor. Oh, bass like the instrument. A bass, bass, bass.
Yeah.
How do you spell it?
Yeah, yeah. Yep. And let me see what you gave these. Okay, wait, let me look over here. Oop.
5.5 and a 3.5.
Okay, again, I missed that. Oh.
I wrote it.
Okay, a 5 and a 3.5?
5.5 and a 3.5.
Okay. At least you gave the other one a 3.5 as wagerable because you obviously had pretty good matches for both. Now let me see if that was the last one. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Well, let me then bring over here. So this is what I have. And now, as the group manager doing judging, my typical approach is to mark everything over 3.5 in yellow. But I always want to note the wagerables. So I usually do those in gray, because as I say, sometimes there'll be so many 3.5s. As a group judge, it'll make it pretty clear. Oops, I missed one here. Well, looking here, I think based on 90% intellectual and also all the things I heard, this one becomes pretty clear, right? So we'll make the prediction is photo site A. Okay. Now none of us know yet if that's a yes or no. How do we find that out, you might ask? And guess what? That's what we do here. So I can put that here. Looking at this, I certainly have no problem making this a 4.5 as representative of what the group did. And over here, well, you know, it doesn't matter. We're going to go to that side, but we had a 4 and two 3.5s. You know, in my mind, I'm somewhere between a 3 and a 3.5. We have a bunch of 3s here. I think a 3. You know, what would you do if you were trying to put this in here? Huh?
Yeah.
It's hard.
3 is good.
Yeah, I think a 3 is reasonable. Okay, again, it won't change the final answer. Okay, so then again, as a user doing this on your own, you would put in comments, and we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 sessions for photo site A with CRs greater equal 4. Pretty easy group judging. Okay, I think that says, well, I'll just say it in words this way. Lots of good sessions. Okay, and you do always want to fill this in. It's important for you when you come back. It teaches you stuff. Also, if you have an independent judge, of course, you want to communicate that. But remember, all of this is saved on our server, so you'll be able to have access to it when you do this on your own. So then we click here, and there's the yes. So this prediction, photo site A, prediction equals that. Why don't I just add it here, which is yes. Okay, so just to make it bigger, maybe I'll put it here too. So yes is prediction. So that's it. We are co-generators of that. The prediction is yes. That I think I do repeat, yep, that the Apple stock price will be below 150 on June 19th. So that will be interesting. Some people may want to wager on that. You could buy puts, but be very cautious. This is not the optimum situation with a month in advance. Now let's go back to our PowerPoint. Maybe I'll try to get it this way, and we'll just finish off here. Okay, that was good, folks. That was fun. I guess I don't have another one open, so let's look at this one. Okay, let's go back. So we did our analysis judging, and I'm using this one again as part of the close on purpose because I just think it's a way of looking at what is really going on here. And the fact that this is you at remote viewing time and you at feedback time seems really significant to me because the precognition that we see, you know, both here in ARV, the spontaneous stuff is coming into you. You are the experiencer of that now. And we call it precognition. Now, here it is obvious that you're the remote viewer. In general, you might think the information is coming from someplace else. It might very well be a kind of telepathy. It's being carried through some sort of consciousness communication channel. I don't know what better word. I'm open to other words, but those words seem to work now, communication channel. But what better skill, what more valuable skill to build up than build up your own personal communication channel? You know, I believe we're connected to everybody anyway. So even when I said there might be somebody else here that's giving you precognitive information, you're connected to that person. So in many ways, this is how it always works. But with ARV, it's clearly how it works. You're the remote viewer. You're the feedbacker. This is it. And this is the entanglement. This is the communication channel you're trying to build up. It just seems so perfect, you know, and the more I'm into this over the years, the more perfect it feels as the ideal vehicle, if you're interested in precognition, to develop it, to use just what we're doing as a tool to get better and better at it. Now, on Monday, we had a shaman with us who was really very good, talking about lots of things, including health, a little bit about precognition. But one of the things he said, and I didn't disagree with him at the time, you know, because this is his tradition and a lot of traditions, which say that precognition and other shamanistic-like skills are only in certain people. In his culture, I think they actually look for people that have this talent and then nurture it. But it's like others, you know, he certainly didn't say can't do it or wouldn't be good at it, but I think you already have my point. I believe everybody has this capability. I think probably when we're young, it's there, able to be developed or turned off. Things like this are very difficult to prove. You know, you can't prove stuff like this. What I also believe, and which I see happen all the time, is people who come in believing they don't have any talent at all, show it, and I believe you can get better and better at it doing just what we're doing. So this is the time to do the learning. And this is the time to know, once you get, as everyone here, you wouldn't be here if you didn't get that information can be shared, that you can get remarkable information earlier in time. This changes the way you look at life, because this means that stuff you're experiencing now is in fact, certainly can be, but I go even further and say is in fact influenced by what happens in your future. You can be picking up information in your life from the future, which you might want to share with your past. And you might, in your present, want to share information with your future. So it goes both ways. The word entanglement really means that. It's an entanglement kind of outside of space and time. Really getting that deep in your gut. Again, grokking it as something which just is part of your being, I think is very important. And all of this leads, I believe, to healthier, wealthier, and wiser lives. So thank you all for coming. Any last questions, comments that you'd like to make? Okay. I will end it here then. And thank you for your participation, and keep precogging.
Thank you, Marty.
Good.
Thanks, Marty.
Thank you.